The Michigan Wolverines, for the first time since 1997, the first time outright since 1948, are national champions of college football. They defeat the Washington Huskies 34-13. But let's be honest, guys, and maybe that's the first talking point is, and I know there's a lot of people talking about how much of a blowout this game was, but this was a one-score game with like 7 minutes to go.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Michigan did what Michigan's done in a lot of big games over the last couple of years, and that's pull away late because of big defensive plays and things like that. But this was a tight game. It didn't start that way. Michigan got out to a big lead early. Washington made adjustments and really made a game out of it. But in the end, you know, is the Michigan defense, the Michigan running game. You know, that has been the story for so long, and they come out, no pun intended, the victors in this one. EJ, I'll go to you first with your thoughts on the game.
No, the score was indicative of the game. I mean, the game was a lot closer than the score indicated. I just thought Michigan, you know, their defense was fantastic. I thought McCarthy made plays he needed to make. Pressuring Penix all night, pretty much. You know, the O line was not good. No, I'm very happy with the result, obviously. I mean, like I said, kudos to Michigan's. You know, your wife. Obviously, I've got a couple of friends who are Michigan fans. You know, I love Michigan after Florida State, of course. So I'm very happy with the school. Really am.
Mike, your thoughts on the game?
I mean, obviously, I said the offensive line from Washington really did them no favors. Kudos to the defense of Michigan, you know, making the adjustment in the second half. Two Michael Penix interceptions. The one early again on that first drive that really could have made that a tie ball game, if not a 4-point Michigan lead that really changed some heavy momentum. And then the one, the basically the dagger, as we put it in the group chat, the fourth down forced pass that got picked off and ran back to about like the 5-yard line or something. You know, those are one of those. I will be the guy that dies on the sword. That if you're just looking at the box score, you didn't watch this football game, you don't know how close it actually was. You know, I get it. 34-13 looks a lot worse on paper. But like you said, with about 6 minutes left in the ball game, 7 minutes left in the ball game, it was one-score game. You know, Michigan, obviously, I had this debate with someone leading into the Alabama game when I talked about with that person that works here at my establishment that Blake Corum would be the best running back on the football field in the Rose Bowl. And they called me, they told me I was out of my mind. And what I told them is I said, I may be out of my mind, but Blake Corum's going to prove me right. And if Blake Corum wasn't the best running back the last 2 weeks of the college football season, his teammate is the only one that was better. You know, with the 2 long running touchdowns to start the game off. But Blake Corum had big run after big run. J.J. McCarthy did the thing that he's done all year that a lot of people don't want to talk about, which is not turning the football over. Yeah. You know, he didn't give it away. I get it. It's not pretty. It's not the Michael Penix Juniors of the world throwing for 4,500 yards and 55 touchdowns. It's doing your job. It's the Trent Dilfer of college football. He may throw for 3,500, 15 and like 3 or 4 interceptions, and the defense plays out of its mind and does its job. But, you know, the big takeaway here, that if this is the final game that Mr. Harbaugh coaches in Michigan, no matter what happens, sanctioned, unsanctioned, etc., his tenure at Michigan, without a shadow of a doubt, is 1,000% a success. And anyone that wants to say otherwise has lost their mind.
They're crazy.
The guy was lights out against Ohio State. He brings home a national title. Obviously, we'll talk more Harbaugh here in a few. I don't want to go down that route just yet, but very fitting that if that's it, that's the way that it's it.
Yeah, we'll touch on the potential future of Jim Harbaugh. Everybody's doing it here in a second, and yeah, I mean it's you know, this team. I mean, you had 6 games where he wasn't on the sideline, and you want to talk about a team effort, and that's what this organization this program has been about over the last couple of years. And Mike touched on it, not necessarily being the prettiest win or anything like that, but a couple years ago, 2020, the COVID season, Michigan went 2-4. They hadn't beaten Ohio State under Harbaugh up to that point. It had been a long time since they had beat Ohio State, and they kind of took that off season to retool, rethink their mindset, and the focus was to beat Ohio State. They've done that 3 times in a row now. But after last season, after their second playoff failure, the loss to TCU, the prior year to Georgia, they kind of took, and it's kind of ironic because the team that they shifted their focus to a beat Georgia mindset, Georgia ended up not even being in the playoff this year. But Michigan figured out a way to get back to do in the Big Ten what Alabama and Georgia have done so well in the SEC for the last decade-ish, and that's control the line of scrimmage, overpower your opponent on both sides of the ball, and run it down your throat. Yeah, you have playmakers that can you can get the ball to, but they turned their game into a team that can beat Georgia. Well, they didn't get to prove that they can beat Georgia, but they beat the team that beat Georgia. So by mathematics, right? We know that's how it works. But just an incredible job. Yeah, Mike.
I just thought about this because we also do a wrestling show. Me and Jim are on the Take 3. Ernest used to be. We'll drag him back for a guest appearance at some point. But can we talk about how the Michigan Wolverines just proved that they're Cody Rhodes and finished the story?
Yeah, no, I mean,
I like the comparison.
I mean,
literally.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of guys who Blake Corum being one of them, who decided to come back when they could have gone to the NFL, and they came back to do what they did last night.
Oh, 100%, and it's a testament to those guys. It's a testament to from Harbaugh to the coordinators to the strength and conditioning coaches to the guys that wore the shoulder pads. Those guys wanted to do it. And I don't want to use the Brian Kelly sounder, but because they're family, and that just pained me to say that out loud. But that's kind of what it felt like this Michigan team was. They looked at it that they had unfinished business, and the job wasn't done. The story wasn't over. They were able to write that final chapter last night. Again, like we said, it wasn't Georgia. It wasn't the team that they wanted to cover and go after. But they did the job. They successfully walked out with their championship, and they finished that chapter. Do I think that JJ McCarthy is going to be a starting NFL quarterback? Probably not. Do I think he'll get free drinks anytime he's in the greater Ann Arbor area for the rest of his life? You're goddamn right he will.
Oh, no doubt about
rightly
that.
so.
So, again, kudos to those guys. Kudos to the defense. They stopped a really good Washington offense.
Yeah, I mean, it took a total team effort for Michigan. Kyle says they came back to finish the story and collect NIL, and rightly so. Yeah, I mean that's the name of the game in college football, and yeah, I mean it was
cashing checks and breaking necks.
It was absolutely a total team effort, and yeah, I mean I honestly think JJ McCarthy. I think it'll probably. I think it could depend on the future of Harbaugh, but I think it would probably serve him well for his NFL future to potentially return for another year. I don't think he had the best statistical year of his life. He made big plays when he had to, but that will obviously remain to be seen. So I mean that's the $1 million question here, guys. And EJ, I'll start with you. Do you think this was Jim Harbaugh's last game as coach of the Michigan Wolverines?
Oh yeah, especially because he won the title. I mean, the optics. He hires the what was his Tom Brady's former agent as his agent now. or lawyer, what to call it. You have jobs open up the yin yang, jobs that make sense right now. They're opening up. Possibility of him being, annoyed or bothered by the NCAA going forward because of the investigation still. There's just too much at this point. You did the job. What did Kyle say in the podcast about the hamburger? Here's your hamburger. It was good.
Yeah.
Which makes total sense. Now, I think this is a perfect time to go back to the pros, which, by the way, he has success there already. He just finished the job.
Yeah, for sure. Mike, same question to you. Was this the last game for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan?
I will overwhelmingly say that this is it. I believe that the NCAA is going to do some things that they really shouldn't to this university. And it's unfortunate, but Harbaugh did his job here. He turned a team that, when he went there, was floundering at points, losing to Penn State, losing to Ohio State regularly. He turned this university around. He's turned it into a contender every year. And I can't say enough positive things about him in Ann Arbor. I personally, when the San Francisco situation happened and he left, I didn't think he was going to end up in college football. I thought it wouldn't work. I thought his coaching style would be hard to get kids to buy into. And I thankfully was wholeheartedly wrong. And, I will say that till I'm blue in the face. I'm happy that he won the national title. I do think that he is going back to the pros. Where he ends up is the next discussion. Obviously, I know Washington is interested. Las Vegas is probably a name that makes a lot of sense, even though Antonio Pierce, I think, did enough to be the head coach.
Yeah, we'll talk about landing coaching openings here in a minute.
Okay. So I do think that the chapter of his coaching career at the University of Michigan closed, and it closed the best way possible, holding up that trophy that you see on the screen right now.
Yeah, I think first off, I don't think we're going to know anything until this time next week or even further. I think the Michigan team returned to Ann Arbor this evening. They're planning a parade in Ann Arbor sometime this week. I think he is going to take the opportunity with this team to soak this in as much as possible.
And rightly so.
Thank you, Joel.
Really? Do you think wow, I'm surprised you said that, because I think we'll know within the next week or two. Honestly, because if he wants to get a job immediately,
I don't. I think it's going to be a week until we know.
This will be a while. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I think. I mean, we're not. I think the earliest we know something is about this time next week. I think he's going to take some time to soak this in, as he should. I mean, let's look at it. He took the job over in 2015. Lloyd Carr had left the University of Michigan in 2000 at the end of 2007.
Right.
They went 3-9, 5-7, and 7-6 under Rich Rodriguez. Brady Hoke took over. They went 11-2. Then they went 8-5, 7-6, and 5-7. I don't think people understand where this program was at. And the thing that still is so asinine to me, and what's crazy about the business of college football, and I know we've talked about it from the Ohio State fan perspective, as it pertains to Ryan Day, but Harbaugh went 10-3, 10-3, 8-5, 10-3, 9-4. The COVID year they went 2-4. Obviously, it looks very bad, but that was such an odd year anyway. From then on, he went 10-2, 13-1, and 15-0, including back-to-back undefeated seasons in the Big Ten, 3 straight Big Ten title wins, 3 straight wins against Ohio State, and of course, this year's national title.
And going unbeaten of the year, where it was probably the most competitive of all the playoff years the last 10 years.
Yeah, no, this playoff was fantastic. I mean, obviously, you out Alabama, and then you beat the one of the, if not the best offensive teams in the country. Here's the thing. I don't know if this is his last game. Now, if you make me choose today, my answer would be yes. I think this is probably the last one. And no more fitting way to go out. Especially it's his alma mater. It's a place that he loves, the place that he grew up. And it's, this was the job. This was what he set out to do 9 years ago. But I think a lot of it is going to hinge on potentially what they know and what they think is going to happen with the NCAA investigation. If they think that, it may just be minor infractions and there's not going to be any, any hit on their bowl eligibility or playoff eligibility, then I wouldn't be surprised to see him return. Because I think he loves this program and I think he loves being in that Ann Arbor community. So
I agree. I agree with you, Jim. I think if there's no real penalty, I think he's built a bubble in Ann Arbor that he would be crazy to pop. I mean, you've built this school, you've built this, program into a powerhouse. And I know things are going to be a little bit different with only the Power 4 next year instead of the Power 5. But if JJ McCarthy comes back, I mean, you have to put them as the favorite to win the big whatever number you want to put at the end of it. The big 37, whatever it is. So, I mean, yeah, it might be wild.
Big 16, I think it's going to be next year.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because one thing that's interesting to think about is, and we heard the head of the playoff committee every week this year, they would ask him, how do you guys rank Michigan because of the allegations? They're like, look, as long as this team's allowed to play, we're going to put them where they belong. So if there's no restriction on playing in the playoff, then I don't necessarily know why he would leave. But
I still think, though, and look, all the points you made about him staying in Michigan is extremely valid. Alma mater, the whole nine, trying to defend the title, add more to the case, of course, obviously. I just think that he has that itch. He has an itch. Because you can argue his NFL job was taken from him. He didn't lose his job.
Yeah, it was a disagreement with management.
Right. Say what you want about how he handled things, the burnout players or whatever. We'll see how that, whatever. But to me, that itch has not been scratched yet to win a Super Bowl. And he was so close to doing it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So I just think that is still heavy on his mind. And I think that's why, if there's any opportunity to not only part ways with Michigan, given the optics, you won a national title. Now you have probably the most leverage you're ever going to have as a head coach now in a pro level, because not only would he probably get a coaching spot, obviously, but if he wanted more power in the front office, there are teams that are probably willing to give him to him at this point now.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So I think that there's no better time than now.
This is probably the biggest and best opportunity for him to do it as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. Again, I don't expect to see the black smoke coming out of the cathedral or the white smoke to signify the election of the new pope. And anytime soon, because like I said, I think that they're going to celebrate this win and what this means to, because look, I don't know if you guys have ever been in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That is a town that is sponsored by the Yellow M. You can't go anywhere without knowing that town belongs to the University of Michigan. There's parts of that town where the fire hydrants are painted like the winged helmet. I mean, it is bought and paid for by the University of Michigan, and as it should. It's a college town, man, without question. So this town has not had a title in college football since 1997. I was 12. Okay, like let's soak that in for a minute. Like I'm almost 40. I was 12 the last time Michigan won a title. So I think they're going to enjoy the moment.
Can we poll the people of Ann Arbor and ask them if the fire hydrants, if there are any red ones, and if so, why? Because Ohio State is a hue of red.
I think
That
they're
makes sense.
I think they're silver and blue or something. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe it's more of a shade of orange. Maybe there's no red in that town for sure. But yeah, we'll see, man. Obviously, we'll stay on top of it as much as we can, and stick to our social media as soon as
All I know is Ohio State fans are pissed off this morning, and it makes me so happy.
Oh, it's just wonderful.
Mm,
It is just wonderful.